All right, this is Coal Creek Park in Erie, Colorado. This is kind of my home course now. I live a couple miles from here. I moved there kind of toward the end of this summer, so this is now my official home course. Kind of like there's not much out here, so to speak of, in terms of trees and whatnot. So the main difficulty of this course is kind of ranged on elevation change and some kind of precarious placements of the basket. You get a lot of baskets along this hill, along the irrigation ditch. You know, the city has put a lot of work into it and made, a decent course. Great tee pads, signage, very well maintained, nice parking lot, practice structure, everything. And it's a pretty fun course. It can be a little bit open, a little hyzery, especially as you start to get a little more distance. Some of these holes are pretty easy. My goal here is to eventually get the 18 down. I think that'll be easy with course pars because there are four pretty soft par fours. One of them definitely should not be par four. The other 2 to 3 are questionable. I definitely want to try to two everything on this course. I have two to every hole, just not all in the same round. So that's a goal out here, is to eventually get the perfect round out here. But we'll see if that ever happens. But anyway, let's get to throwing before we run out of light here. One, nice signs out here. 287, not all the distances are exactly correct, but I think they're pretty close. It's 287, it's just up here on the hill. Uphill, so it plays a little longer. And I'm usually not warmed up, so getting hole 1 and 2 is usually a bit of a chore, especially hole 2. This one occasionally I can get, so I'm going to go up to a fairway here. Because like I said, this plays a lot longer, I feel like. Plays like 310-ish maybe. Plus you got the hill to deal with. Try to keep it low into the hill, so if we can't skip up a little bit, give ourselves a reasonable putt. We'll C-line FD. All right, just a little soft. Good line, went straight up there. My hope is that would skip up the hill a little bit. That I normally threw like something a little slippier, river or leopard 3 that I've been throwing lately, but that FD is just a touch more stable, and it just kind of stabled up at the end. I'm kind of to the side, so I'm not putting directly at it. There is kind of an irrigation ditch about 15 feet behind the pin. There's no water in it now, but it is fairly deep. So if you go into it, and it's very weedy, so you can fall down there and go pretty long ways. All right, so I have a reasonable putt. Very uphill, but we got a chance to start off with the birdie. See if we can't start the streak off. Hole 1 here. Yes, there we go. That's the way to start. But if you get up here, it's flat on the top, and then it falls off into the irrigation ditch right here. So if you miss your putt, you can roll back down, or you can go long and roll down. And of course, if there's water in there, then you're really in a bad spot. But we got hole 1. That's a good start. Now on to probably the main blocker of me ever getting a perfect round on this course. Hole 2. All right, hole 2. It is out of the sunlight here. 401 foot, par 4. So soft par 4. It's fairly open, but at 401 feet, it is very uphill. Kind of hard to tell from this angle, but it definitely plays closer to like 450, maybe even longer, this hill. I've only two'd this like twice, and both of them were very long putts. from kind of just the furthest edge of the flat part on the left. It's at the very max of my distance, and I usually need a little bit of flip and S-turn to get that distance. So, and it is kind of easy. It's very thick off to the right, so if you turn something over, if there's wind or not, it's a little windy today, but I think it's crosswind, so it might help us if I can keep it on the right line without turning over. Carry, I'm gonna go very light. We're gonna go with this octane because it's a 162, so it's pretty light. Should have a chance to get me up there. And that's about as good as I can get it. I got the exact right line. I mean, this is probably the first time I've ever played it with a little bit of warm up. I just did some kind of calisthenics and a tiny bit of putting to try and warm up. Normally I just come straight out and start playing or meet friends and whatnot. And that's why it's almost impossible to get this hole, because I usually, being a little bit older, I need a little time to get the juices flowing and I get in a better rhythm. That's why I decided to grab that octane. I was hoping, being a little lighter, I could get a little bit more distance on it earlier in the round, still push a long way. I got the flight right in this low part, turning, and able to come out of it. Maybe not a little bit higher, might have given me a little bit more push, but it's still probably gonna be way short. Yeah, here we go. So I'm still way short. And see, that feels, and this is actually almost as far as I've gotten. Occasionally I've gotten up on this path on the right side here, or I get on top of this hill about right here. The two times I've birdied it, I've both been in this section somewhere. Yeah, if we can manage to get this. It's very cold today. I'll try to mute out my hand blowing here, but oh man, if we could get this again, it'd be pretty nice, pretty amazing start. It's a little windy and it's really cold today, but I mean, I can't ask for much better of a shot right off the bat here. Oh! No way! No way! No way! No way! All right. Okay. Okay. All right. There's the 2-for-2 start. Well, there's a very slight chance of getting it today, but ooh. Let's go. All right. Oh gosh. Glad I'm filming today because that was awesome. All right. One of these days, I hopefully will not have to make an 80-foot putt to get that. I don't know. That's probably like in the maybe 60-footer, but I don't know. I feel like I can throw the distance. It's just getting that line. I can't throw it on a hyzer, so I can't throw the direct line at it, and inconsistent, but man, I'm happy with that. Holy crap. Holy crap. All right, calm down a second. All right, hole 3, 226. It's up this hill, so it plays quite a bit longer, obviously because of the hill. Again, elevation change, a little deceptive. It flattens out probably at the edge of circle 2, so you have to get it up over the hill a little bit. I typically throw mids, but I've been throwing my putter so well. Real soft Andy, and I'm kind of amped because of that last throw here. So that last putt, holy crap. All right, I'll put you back here. But yeah, a good putter up this hill works well for me. Holy crap, stoked. All right, don't blow this. Let's not blow this, all right? Oh, that looks perfect. Ooh. From my perspective, it was almost ace run, but well short. But that should actually skid up, like, really good. I think I should be short putt. That's about my worst miss lately is just a little hyzer, and once it gets up the hill, ends up coming a little too far left, or a little too hard with a mid. I go straight a little bit long, but a little long. I thought it was a little short, but I skipped kind of long. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna make a putt. Keep going. I'd still see one, but we are going to have to rely on our putting. It's felt good recently. I made a change. I gotta catch my breath. It is cold and I'm too hyped. Weight over the front, into the hips, pop the disc. You gotta be kidding me. That was dead perfect. I hate that miss so much because that's a miss that just shouldn't happen. It was literally dead in. It bounces off the ring and bounces out. That's the one thing I hate. It's so inconsistent. Like, stuff like that kind of makes putting frustrating because I did nothing wrong there. I got it dead on the pole, nose down, low. Like, there's no way that should pop out. But yet, it hits that ring. It's a weird reaction. What can you do? I'll watch it in slow-mo. I'll add it slow-mo. And you can kind of see, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I did miss it, but I thought it was right on. Man, if I end up losing a perfect round because of that, yeah, it's gonna suck, especially after that getting two. All right, but what can you do? It happens. Man, all right. Well, anyway, on to the next one. 404, 278, par 3. It's downhill. I love these tee pads, these round tee pads. Some people don't like them. But man, this view is gorgeous up here. Unfortunately, I missed the leaves. There's Long's Peak in the background. But yeah, here's the elevation change kind of comes in. Got this big tree. You got the irrigation ditch right behind it. It's actually about probably edge of circle one, probably 30 feet deep of the pin. At 278, you'd think you'd need much, but putters go downhill so well. I've actually been throwing the berg lately and just kind of letting it glide. Basically throw it at the tree and you'll have a soft finish toward the pin at the end here. Oh yeah, that's a little bit short, but normally I was throwing an NV a lot, but I'm throwing a little more velocity lately, so I've been throwing the berg a lot, and especially when it's as dry as it is now, stuff is starting to get really skippy. Earlier in the year, like the ground was moist, there was a lot more greenery. You couldn't quite rely on that skip. You'll see this grass, it doesn't look like much, but earlier in the year, this stuff was pretty grabby, so you just didn't get very much slide, but now you just get forward slide off of it. So yeah, best to just kind of play the berg, throw it down there. I basically can't. I mean, I probably could go long with the berg, but it starts to fill that distance really well now, whereas like the NV tends to go a little bit long on occasion. It's good on that uphill, but on the downhill now, I've been kind of going more berg, at least on this one. Depends on the length, really. Hole 5, 246, par 3. Sucks for forehanders because that line is very blocked along the thing. Backhand, you got this kind of nice little, you can kind of just go wide. 243, it's not very far. Most people should be able to hyzer into it, even if you have to use a mid or driver or something lately. All right, now we're level. So, yeah, I just go, I don't have my zone or my MD5, but I do have this thing I just bought. It's an anvil, but it is very soft. So I don't expect to get much ground play, but hopefully it should just kind of hyzer in. Just get it around the tree is my only thought. Really get it up in the air around the tree. Park job. Okay, that soft is pretty nice. It still got a little bit of ground play, more than I expected actually. Thought it was just gonna kind of sit there, but this ground is cold right now and hard, so even the super soft is getting a little bit of ground play. That's the only thing that was kind of off with my zone, is occasionally if that was a little inside or a little too flat, you could like skip way left. Oh, I'm short. Okay, that was a little short. I was very high. I meant to be just a touch flatter, but that's a reasonable putt. I thought I was like under the pin. I'm not, however. All right, had to adjust a leg there. Ooh, we got a little right. But another easy birdie. We're rolling. Keep it going, man. Oh, if that stood out. Ugh. Our hole 6, 294. Interesting thing, kind of uphill, plays a lot farther than 296. Kind of up on this hill. Pretty good for a forehand. If you have a forehand, man, keep it low. Skip into the hill and skip up to it. And it keeps shorter distance. Backhand plays a little longer because you got to go even higher up the hill and then play the skip, especially right now. It's so dry. You've really got to play the skip. Whereas I've actually kind of been playing a little bit more of a flex shot. But yeah, as I was saying, I've kind of been relying on like a fairway and flexing it and then letting it kind of, that way you don't get nearly as much skip. So, and you can kind of keep it a little bit on the straighter line. It kind of shortens the distance a little bit because I can stay on the lower spot. I still have to get the angle right though and get it enough height to finish the flex, or else you'll bury early into the hill. We're going to FD again. This thing's been fairly stable, so I'm going to give it a little bit of height, a little extra flex. Oh, too much flex. Come out of that. Okay, it's not that stable apparently. That is unfortunate. Yeah, that's a bummer. I really thought that FD was a little bit more stable than that. So, and usually, you know, because I'm high, I think it would have been okay had it had more airspace. But the problem is you're flexing it into this hill, so it just doesn't have the airspace to come out. And it's probably going to be short because, again, like I was saying, I burnt it into the hillside. Yeah, there's definitely some room to work with up here, but that was not it. Just a touch higher, it might have pushed forward enough to get a little bit of comeback to get a little more toward the basket. I mean, we're almost basket high. Just way right. Yeah, that just wasn't a good throw. Wasn't a good line. Got to make a long putt here. See if my new Ricky nose down style can work here. Oh, oh boy. I went way deep. Holy crap. I have so much putting velocity lately. This is not great. Oh, ooh, ooh. All right. That didn't feel super great coming out of my hand. There's a little left. That's the one kind of nice thing about that, this sort of slight change I've made with kind of putting the nose down is if I have the distance dialed to where it's diving near the kind of into where I want it to, if you're a little right or left, it kind of just dives into the bucket. And you kind of get this lofty up and down action. I see it's been really working for me. And I can kind of see why Ricky and Gannon are really good putters with it. It's taken me a little bit to figure out how I could do it to my to work with my mechanics, but I think I finally figured it out. So we'll see. Something I'm definitely going to develop over the winter here. All right, hole 7, 340. Another one, another downhill action. Come down there in the trees. Kind of skippy right now. Kind of a fun throw. Really, there's different ways to attack it. You can definitely go like big spike hyzer. I could even get a putter there. Problem is, when I try to throw there with my NB and throw it hard, it tends to not fade. It tends to finish way too straight. And this is one of those weird holes where like you've thrown it a bunch of times and you change a disc and you tell yourself to throw more straight at it, but then you still throw your natural way that you've always thrown it, which for me is, I like throwing a mid. Originally it was a fairway for me, now it's a mid, kind of towards long peak, and just letting it slow glide and kind of slide up to the basket. This is an MD3 C-line. It's a little bit more stable. I usually throw my hex. This is a little bit more stable. So I got to make sure I get a good amount of spin on it. Kind of get it right inside, just inside of Long's Peak back there. Oh, that's too inside. Nope. Yep. And I didn't, I talked about it and I did the opposite. I did the opposite. Although I think like that came out a little bit, that's a kind of stunted release where it just doesn't, I feel like I'm not following through. Like it's early release, but it's not because it's coming necessarily out of my hand early. It's because my form is sort of finishing early, like more forward than kind of following through is what it feels like to me. I don't know if that's actually kind of what's happening or not. My hex probably would have actually been really okay with that because it would have been a little straighter. This MD3 is just kind of a little bit more stable than my hex. My natural putting stroke, since it just kind of pops up, even with the nose down, I'm still popping it up. Like it would go right into this branch. I could potentially, I kind of discovered I can kind of go low and kind of almost spin it by leaning way over. My other thought though is to kind of go straddle. I can kind of reach a little further back and kind of force it to go a little more forward with a little bit less pop. It's still, even when I try to force it forward, it's still trying to tends to come upward. I think I'm out of the circle here, so I'm going to fall forward just a little bit here. But yeah, this is, I wish I had a little bit more of a Simon-esque laser beam here. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, that's the only thing I'm trying to force it straight. is I tend to kind of pull it a little bit or hold it a little too long. Oh, I thought I got it though. Dang it. Oh, frustrating. Frustrating. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, drive it better. You can't really blame yourself on that one. You didn't put it in a good spot. So that was not that far away, but it's the one spot you can't put it in. So that's one of those mistakes that's like, I would much rather be way wide right because there's no obstruction. Like that inside early release is like the one mistake you don't want to make. That's one thing I'm really trying to get better at. Obviously, like if you miss throw, you miss throw. But trying to position yourself to where even a slight miss throw still gives you an opportunity. I think that's where I'm going to improve and be more consistent. All right, we're on a hole 8 here, 337. Kind of down there. A little bit tricky here. Man, this used to feel so long. Like I knew I could get to it, but man, it used to take such a hard throw to get there. And I used to have to throw really overstable drivers, and it's so easy on this angle to skip into that irrigation ditch. It's just, you end up in there a lot. I end up there in a lot. Even when I'm one really close to the basket, you skip into it. If it's playing OB, it sucks. If it's not playing OB, you can make a putt if you get far enough past those trees. But lately I've been kind of throwing a stable-ish 7-speed with a slight anhyzer and letting it kind of come back at the end. I've been really liking this very slight flex. I don't have that disc. I usually throw an evader or my Bodum, but this FD should do it. Although with the way that it turned earlier, I'm a little wary. But I usually throw it fairly softly with the anhyzer and give it enough air to come back. So pretty confident in this shot lately. Let's give it a go. Yeah. Yeah. That was a little softer than I normally throw it, and a little lower. I actually usually throw that a little higher up over the weeds and give it way more room to come back and slide. But that still felt pretty good, and like I think we're parked. I slid right up there. That was the exact right flight pattern. The Annie angle was like perfect. My release point was just a little low inside, but it worked out. There's like this little crop of grass up here that will sometimes catch it, and you can have a decent putt if you don't. Sometimes this little chunk of weeds right here will save a disc, and as long as you can get away from the branch, you get a half decent putt. But yeah, there hasn't been much water, and because I don't think they've needed to release water much this year. It's been wet because there was a lot of rain, but yeah, that was pretty nice. Back on the birdie train. That's how we like to play. Not have to worry about making these weird putts. All right, that felt pretty good. But yeah, I've definitely, you can see it's dry. I've made putts from down in there. Not that big of a deal, but you can see how there's a lip to catch it somewhat. But man, if you're having a driver to get there and it's coming left with any amount of speed, you're probably going to skip into that, which is why I usually go a little higher. 9 and 357, par 4. This is another one of those kind of soft par 4s. Although for most people, most average players, I think this is a legit par 4 because even though it says 357, most people can't get over this hill. And so you're having to throw a second shot, sometimes blind, up to the basket. You can't even see it. For point out, it's kind of about over the right side of that little path there over the top, but it's back straight from that right side more than you think. And it takes a good mash to get there, to get over this hill and park it. I can get there now um, fairly consistently, and I have tuned this a decent amount lately. If you have a good hyzer, you can definitely get there. And the forehand route, the hill is a little closer. So if you have a big forehand, the hill kind of drops off after this point. So your forehand can actually, as long as you get over the point of the hill, it'll usually work and get you pretty close to the basket. So it's definitely very tunable for a lot of people. And I usually basically aim at the very right part of the top of the hill. The only bad thing is because it's going backwards, I have to carry longer to get over the hill. The hill's shorter at the point straight ahead. There's a putt from the very top on the flat, and there's also a good chance to skip toward the pin here. So anyway, I'm gonna let this lady pass.
A few moments later.
The dogs are coming. All right, we'll throw king because I actually have a tailwind, so it might not stable. It might not turn over, and this probably has my best chance of getting to the Opto Ice Orbit King. This thing started out pretty stable, but it's been getting kind of flippy. Hopefully it doesn't turn over or carry too straight. Oh, that looks pretty good if it comes out of that. A little high angle, but yeah, over the hill. That king might be parked. That thing, oh, that king is crazy. I got such good distance on it. It's probably my farthest flying disc right now. It's a little inconsistent. I didn't throw it on 2 because it's still max weight, so I thought maybe I can get that. I think, I have a bunch. They're kind of in the similar category. The Pharaoh, that Fission Octane, they're all kind of, they will go so far. But like the Fission Octane, the Pharaoh, starting to get a little flippy, and this King is actually starting to join them more. It was pretty stable at first, but it's starting to get kind of flippy and a little hard to control. But throwing uphill, it's not going to turn over, most likely, unless I really throw it bad. Oh, how close is that? Oh, I parked it. Man, that actually might have even been an ace run. Although it looked like it was dropping early, but now you can see up here. So this is kind of the top of the hill. This is the right spot where you can see, right where you can see from the thing. But it's kind of straight back here. Ooh, we slid just deep. But yeah, we're getting pretty good. This is actually, I think, the first time I've gone. I think I've gone deep a couple times. I've definitely gone long above it. But man, this is probably the best throw I've ever had on this hole. Wow. Wow. But yeah, my goal is to land right there and kind of slide down a little bit. And boy, did I execute it. So, eagle, that's a course eagle. Oh yeah, that's a good 2 to get. Like I said, that's like pretty soft. It's one of those ones that's like, it's challenging if you don't have the distance or intermediate, because getting over that hill is like impossible if you don't have the right, like a 400-foot drive or like a 350-foot forehand. And the way it's set up is it kind of forces you to throw an almost sometimes blind upshot onto a downslope. So, that's one of those ones that's questionable. But I just want to it. So it doesn't really matter to me if it's an eagle or birdie. My goal is just to it. Anyway, here's hole 10. 300-foot par 3, another elevation one. See, like I said, most of the difficulty is elevation and kind of precarious place baskets. That basket is about maybe 5 feet, between 5 and 10 feet from the edge of the ditch down there. That is not the irrigation ditch, I don't think. I've tried the berg on this a little bit because, and I think it's perfect. And it looks like it's sliding toward the pin. Then I get up there and it's like 30 short. So I think I'll stick with Envy since I don't have my zone. While I'm waiting for him, I'll show you this sign real fast. A little fun fact from the town of Erie. He had basically kind of what happened when I was talking about where, well, except a little bit opposite of the berg. So the berg would have been short, but he went straight at it with a putter too. And this current ground action, oh, he stayed on the edge. That's good. But it looked like he might have slid down in, or he did slide down in. He's just taking his putt. But yeah, so after seeing his slide a long way, I'm going to stick with the Envy, but I'm going to give it a little bit more. I actually like throwing it kind of slightly right and letting it slide down a little more than going straight at it. This Envy should be stable enough. Let's give it just a touch of loft. And just a touch hyzer. Slide it in there. Oh no. I overpowered it. Oh no, we got the big skip. It's a bounce. That usually doesn't happen with the Envy. That was a little overpowered. I've got a lot of juice today. I haven't played for a few days. Definitely got some juice. Who knows? Maybe it's the cold. I don't know. Normally it sets down and kind of slides. There's these weird little mounds down here that will kind of catch it if you get it down just early enough. But I didn't quite get it. That's what's fun. I mean, this is a fun course to like really kind of play with your elevation. I mean, like a lot of people think, oh, that distance, I got to throw something. You know, maybe for some people that's a mid or fairway. You got to remember, putters glide downhill so well. You can see, like, a lot of times I think I'm parked, but I'll be caught like right there, and the little ridge like makes it look closer. But there's these little ridges around here that kind of can catch it. But right now, though, the ground play is pretty rough. I mean, we've never played this ditch as OB. I could definitely see if this was a tournament, it's probably be OB. Like I said, I don't think water is ever in this ditch, so it's maybe plays more of the hazard, and just kind of gives you a little bit of an upward putt here. This is one where my stance is slightly obstructed. I probably should straddle this, but I like putting upward with my stagger putt because of this kind of pop. Oh my gosh, what did I do? I should have staggered that. As soon as I tried, my balance went all wonky. Of course. Oh, I felt better when I missed it anyway. Karma. Meant to be. Meant to be. I should have stuck to my guns though. Say straddle, and I don't straddle, and that's fucking stupid. I've been so good at telling myself that if your stagger just feels at all off balance, use the straddle. I mean, even though I missed that straddle, I mean that wasn't my normal putter. That soft Envy came out a little goofy, but it was like dead on line, and if it was the Rainmaker, it was probably going in. Anyway, hole 11, 345, par 3, slightly uphill, plays quite a bit longer. I always feel like, man, I'm up there and I'm way short. I've definitely gotten there with like a fairway, but I like throwing a driver. There is a drop off to the right over this ridge, and down. The irrigation ditch is down there to the right. There's a little bowl where the pin is, so we can kind of, and there's a backdrop, so you can kind of, if you keep it inside of, from going over the right ledge, there's definitely something to catch it if you go a little long. For something we haven't thrown yet, this is my new Grace. This thing is so pretty. This kind of shatter stamp Grace. It's still it's brand new, so it's still pretty stable, so it should work for this. But what I've noticed is even if we do go a little bit, even if it fades, I used to have to throw a little flippier of a driver to get there. If it stays too straight, there is actually a shelf that's kind of just over the edge, and there's a couple gaps in that shelf that actually give you a pretty decent putt. But I haven't had much issue with that because now I have the ability to throw more stable, even overstable, and or on a hyzer. I'll give this a slight hyzer and go a little bit wide right. But I do have to give it some juice to make sure I get there. I don't know if this distance is right, but it plays a lot longer. It feels like 380-ish to me. All right, that needs to come back. Wow, that did not stable at all. I mean, it is pretty cold up here, so that I thought that Grace would come back. I thought it was high enough. I mean, I thought for sure that was going to come back left, but it just did not. So we'll test my theory. I'll show you that little shelf, and we'll see if we actually have a putt. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be bad, right? You get up here, you're like, oh no, that's going to be really bad over the hill. But this is the locals' knowledge here. Get up here. Here's the little shelf, and there's our disc. So, I mean, we're literally pin high, and we have a look. Called it. I didn't really want this to happen, but this is funny. Like if it does go a little too straight or a little turn over, we have a good look, reasonable look. Oh, I shorted it. No way. Man, mountain down on the putting green. Sadness. Oh, that's too funny. Short the putt. It's all right. Hole 12. It's 290. This is the one that's like, why is this a par 4? I mean, it's literally just a downhill shot. It's 290, but you're throwing so far downhill. It's right in these trees. There's no reason for it to be a par 4. I like you can kind of play this as a double mando where you have to go through the trees, and that maybe makes it more like a par 4. And I like this is my favorite shot on this course because I really like trying to ace run this. I've come so close. I've hit basket, chains, band. Like I really like trying to get through this gap, this downhill angle shot here. Super fun to throw. I'm gonna put you right over here as soon as this guy finishes up. It's a little cold after seeing that Grace not come back. I'm a little worried that this NB is going to stay too straight. But what I normally do is try to match the hill right at the right tree, and the NB will normally just kind of, if I get the line right, it'll just kind of hold in that, right in them between those. Let's see if we can't get it here. Whoa, that's pretty good. Oh, stable up. Ah. See, normally, like I think when it's not cold, that I get that little slight fade at the end there, and it goes toward the basket. That's going to leave me a better putt than normal, but didn't know ace run. I think this is why I'm kind of good at throwing downhill and uphill, is I use my backswing, my reach back angle to change my release angle. So I want to go down the hill, I reach back up on the angle of the hill, and it kind of throws through flat. I match the angle of the hill, and for whatever reason, throwing downhill, I can just kind of laser beam this. I caught these little foliages. We probably actually would have kind of skipped way long. It's kind of cool little bowl here. But the funny thing is, the bad thing about ace running is half the time I end up back behind this tree and I have no putt, which is kind of unfortunate for the ace run. But it's one of those holes where, like, I just got to ace run it, right? One of these days, I will get this. I almost did it in front of Eagle McMahon's dad. They were a hole ahead of me, and I hit the band. And I'd played doubles with Pat earlier, and he just yells out, "Why couldn't you do that when we were playing doubles?" Because I think neither one of us threw this hole very good. So it was kind of funny. Oh boy, sun just went down. Man, I've been playing a little too slow. People started catching up with me. We're running out of light here. All right, I have to go a little faster here. Got people on my tail, full course in front of me. All right, hole 13. This is the super shorty. Kind of sucks because when there's a lot of leaves, this little tree that's right here in front is actually fairly full, and you can't really see the basket. And I feel bad for four-handers because there ain't crap for a line. But this is another ace run. I'm gonna get this ace one of these days too. Still haven't hit it. A little easier now that there's no leaves. I can actually see the basket. So I'm gonna go with that angle, that anvil here. Just slight hyzer out wide of the short tree and under the boughs of the long tree for the ace run. Oh, did I get it? Did I get it? Oh, no. No way. Oh, I thought that angle was perfect. I thought that was perfect. Oh, man. Sadness. Thought I got it perfect. That is unfortunate. One of these days. And this one, there's like almost no danger to ace run it. Even with as skippy as it is now, like, I mean, I'm gonna have a very short putt there. Like, this is, I don't think I missed that by a whole lot, considering where this ended up. See, this is kind of where, like, slightly downhill, I've been telling myself to just straddle, even though nose down stagger from a short distance is easy, but I think I'm trying to commit to that. Just get used to it. Like, it just seems to be more consistent on hills, especially like downhill. The balance is so much better. And one of the mistakes I make trying to stagger downhill is I pop it up too much and I throw it high and hit the band, you know. So the straddle actually lets me keep it down. All right, hole 14, 269, par 3. All right, kind of straight up there. It's up on the ridge right there. This is one of those ones where, you know, this is how they make it difficult. This is into hyzer alley now, where it gets very, everything's like backhand hyzer onto this, you know, everything's up on this ridge. I still like to go mid-range and go flat and let it drift into the hill, because I get way too many rollaways from trying to spike something. whereas the mid just kind of floats in there, and it sort of wants to scoot up the hill a little bit when you throw it correctly. Like, this kind of taught me how to approach hillside baskets a lot. And having something come in flat, you can really kind of judge the spin angle, will help you actually crawl up the hill. There's two more there, or there's another hole that's like that. It's very similar to this, but a slightly different angle. Yeah, you just go straight at it with a mid and low, and when it sets on the hill, it almost wants to crawl up the hill. And it's pretty flat on top, so it's pretty easy to skip into the irrigation ditch. And kind of hard putt if you're back here. My goal is always to try to get in this little bowl here that I did, because this little bowl here will catch it and give you this kind of nice easy putt here. Yeah, we are on Heiser Alley, easy going. Oh shoot. And just my current form, throwing flat and smooth with a mid is just, it feels so good. Especially that MD3. All right. I feel like I should help that guy look for his disc, but we're running out of light. So gotta keep moving here. We're not gonna be able to see the end of this. I thought I had plenty of time. Darn time change. And hole 15, 294, par 3. Can't even see it from the tee. It's very similar to the last hole. It's up on the top of the ridge. See if you can see it. Just a little further. But it's also a little lower. And there's this kind of weird little pit like right in front of it. Normally I throw like Bear or Evader, like overstable 7-speed. I don't have it, and I don't think the FD is going to come back right now. So I'm actually going to throw this Felon. This Felon, it's cold right now, and this Felon has actually kind of gotten fairly straight. I feel like this thing flies like how a Thunderbird flies for most people, not at altitude. So I can just put it straight, flat, nice, easy throw, and it should get left right into the pin. A little wide, but you can see, man, like, okay, it's coming back. Skip, and I got a good flare. That's a little long, I think, but probably a decent putt. Man, the amount of times I think I've parked this, for being a blind hole, it's one of those throws that just sort of like, just works. Like, I throw it easy with a certain disc, and it almost always just slides right up there. You can see it now. It's not super far left, but you have to get around this thing. That one went a little long. I really, really like that Felon. It's very reliable. It doesn't turn over. It always comes back. I can even flex it pretty hard and will come back. But it also, for being a brand new, moonshine orbit, it's not like super beefy. It's just very consistent. And I think like I said, this is maybe what like certain Firebirds or Thunderbirds feel for most people. This is the first disc that really has felt like that to me. So there's that little hole that I was talking about that you can kind of call it the birdie hole. You can skip into if you keep it low enough, and it keeps you out of the irrigation ditch here. But yeah, I really, really like this Felon. And I got a FD3 to kind of fill the really beefy Firebird spot. Man, that nose up, or nose down, feels so good. Even when I feel like I put it too hard or bad, it just, it just goes in. Oh man. Hole 16, 264, par 3 again, right up on this ledge. You can just hyzer into the hill if you want. Sucks for forehanders because the tree's kind of in the way. and hard to get ground play. I, of course, go backhand. Yeah. And just go kind of straight at it. It's a little low, but hopefully it carries. Yep. Just skips right up this thing. That was lower than normal. A little bit of a soft release. I didn't see it come in when you yelled, so I don't know. Sorry. But you can see, like, with this ground so hard and cold right now, it's just sliding up there. And you see it kind of wanted to crawl up the hill. It slid back down just a touch because it was a little too low. I don't want to get it just a little higher. It's funny, like, even when it doesn't have that much speed at the end, the amount of times I've landed on this hill and it sort of still crawled up the hill a little tiny bit. Whereas you try to spike it into this and you roll back into this ditch, or you kind of get some other weird ground action. This is kind of a long putt here, but should be reasonable. Oh. All right. Let's keep Heiser Alley rolling here. Yeah, a little short, but we'll take it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's annoying. Hey. Putting. Should have known when I made that early one that I was gonna take a couple back. I thought maybe when that spit out happened, that would be it, but nope. It's not the disc golf gods, it's me. I putted that badly. No one to blame but myself. All right, 17, 317, par 3. Again, kind of, you could hyzer into this. I could probably straight up hyzer the felon. I can actually probably get the MD3 there fairly easily. There's a little mini ditch. So if you're sliding early, there's a little mini ditch that will catch it. You get to the ground just a little bit before the pin, and it will kind of give you like, it's like a 5-foot putt to get into it. If you go to a little too left, you can get under that tree or on the hill. It makes the putt harder. I'm just going to go FD, kind of very soft at it. Not like soft, but I mean, soft and hyzer is kind of more what I meant. But oh, it's coming out of it. Oh man, it's holding that Annie, that slight Annie, just not coming out of it. I think normally I would throw the evader on that and it would come out of it at the end there and give me a flare to the basket. That ended up just kind of skipping straight. Probably could have thrown the felon soft and low and played the skip. But yeah, here's the ditch. And you can see it's kind of right on there. Oh yeah, I did get caught by the ditch. So, you know, this isn't terrible. That's a reasonable putt. Just that, if it would have flared instead of the forward skip, or a touch higher to give it a little bit of comeback, would have been nice. There we go. Man, this new putt just feels effortless. Hard to explain, but I figured out how to pop it without, I don't know, like I feel like I'm barely trying. I'm just popping out, and I'm even trying to get it nose down. Like I'm trying to go like that. Anyway, I'm gonna do a lot of work on putting, and I got some putting theory and stuff. I'll probably try to make a video or two on that, on my progress and my thoughts on it. But this one's feeling good, and it feels maybe like the most sustainable putt I've had for a while. So we'll see. All right. 18, the last of the par fours. This is another questionable one. Yeah, it's 400 feet, 409, but we're actually throwing downhill. So definitely much more reachable. Kind of right there on the trail. It's on the edge of this little slightly sloping hill. So you kind of want to go wide right, and wide right will get you a bit better of a skip. I'm going to go to that Grace in this cold. I think this Grace will be really good. The other thing you can do, what I like to do, is play to the practice basket, which is beyond it. I'll do that in a sec after. But yeah, 410 downhill. Let's just rip the Grace out very slightly to the right and let it finish with a flare. That looks pretty good. It's a little high. See, that's too high. I'm gonna finish way too left. All right, that's a putt though. I mean, that's basically basket high. A little lower, and that would have been parked. But for giggles, we're gonna try to get one to the practice basket. Pretty good line. Held the turn. Not as far as I wanted, but I'll give us a look at the practice basket. I think the practice basket's like 550 or something like that. Go ahead. We're almost out of time, so running out of sunlight, but it is pretty out here. Look at this sunset. Should have got some film of their forehands. Way better than my forehands. But I didn't quite get there. But it's putt, yeah. And then my king is actually beyond it. We'll see where that is. But I have reasonable putt here for the two. Yeah, like I said, this feels not like a par four to me. Even for like amateurs, it's downhill. Oh man, I lofted it too much. That's the second time I've done that where I've over lofted it and pushed it a little bit right instead of straight at it. That's kind of an old habit, I think, that comes in on some of these longer ones. So actually, the king did not get as far as I thought. We're past the basket, but didn't finish as well as I thought. I thought I got it pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of fun to play the practice basket here as an actual par four. I've gotten to the road down here a few times. We'll go see if we can get a bird throw in. I still haven't two'd this long basket yet. Had a couple putts at it. Oh, doink. Yeah, that's my other goal. I've two'd this way a bunch of times. Not that hard for me now. I mean, it's hard to get the line exactly right to get the good lie, but I can usually give myself a putt. Whereas this one, this is about as close as I've gotten, which is kind of deep circle 2. All right, there you have it. There's Cold Creek in Erie. Again, this is my home course, so obviously, like, I know these shots really well. Messed up a couple. There was a couple birdies I probably maybe could have got if I had my full bag and would have thrown on a slightly different disc, but mostly just came down to putting. I just got to hit those putts. Anyway, it's a great course. Like, it's fun. It really teaches you elevation control, some angle control. Like I said, it gets very hyzery. I mean, they did the best they could with, gives you a lot of kind of not level putts. And so I've kind of learned, this is where I think I've gotten pretty good at uphill putting and kind of loftier putts. But man, beautiful views out here. Kind of not enough clouds to get a great sunset today. We got a little bit of it, but man, you can see the mountains. I probably should have gotten a few more views of the mountains. I'll post some pictures here, slideshow action. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of what a lot of Denver non-mountain courses are like wide open, trying to use whatever they can with the terrain to come up with something. Here, I'm gonna get that 18 down here one of these days. I'm at least gonna get it on the course part. So I think we'll be pretty close today with course pars, because of the Eagles. So I might have beat my record, course par record. I'll have to calculate it up. I think I was either 14 or 15 down. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one.